A large portion of what causes you stress isn't even yours to begin with. It's someone else's judgment, a mistake that doesn't belong to you, a memory from the past you can't change, or a worry about a future that hasn't even happened yet. Still, we carry these burdens as if they were our own, giving them space in our minds and hearts. But here's a difficult truth to face. The more attention you give to things beyond your control, the more power you surrender over your inner world. In the end, it's not the noise around you that truly breaks you, it's the storm inside you that you never learned to calm. This is where Stoicism begins, right at the edge where the illusion of control ends. And yes, it is an illusion. Not the helpful kind of control that leads to growth or improvement, but the exhausting kind that tricks you into thinking that if you just try harder, you can bend the world to your will. But you can't, and that's okay. Real peace doesn't come from managing every detail, fixing every problem, or having life go exactly as planned. It comes from learning to recognize what's truly yours to influence in, letting go of the rest. It comes from asking, is this mine to carry? When the answer is no, the most powerful move you can make is to release it. That's where strength is born, not in controlling the uncontrollable, but in responding to life with discipline, clarity, and calm acceptance. This episode isn't about avoiding chaos or pretending everything is fine. It's about developing the inner capacity to face the chaos without being consumed by it. It's about training your mind not to dominate the external world, but to master the only place you'll ever truly own, yourself. Think back to when you were a child. Didn't you believe that if you cried loudly enough, the world would respond? As adults, we may not cry, but we still try to control how others see us, how things unfold, and how success or happiness arrives. We plan, we push, we cling. But the tighter we grip life, the more it slips through our fingers. The Stoics knew. This Epictetus once said, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." That's not just poetic, it's a wake-up call. Every moment you chase what you can't control, you drift further from the peace that's already within you. And maybe, just maybe, that peace has been waiting for you to stop fighting and start letting go. There's something deeply human about our desire to control life. It starts from our earliest moments when we cry as infants to get our way, believing the world should respond to our emotions. As we grow older, that desire doesn't disappear, simply evolves. We stop crying, but we still try to manipulate how others perceive us. We attempt to forecast the future, to bend outcomes to our liking. We chase peace, success, even happiness, as if they are prizes we can seize by force. But have you noticed? The tighter we cling, the more life slips through our fingers. It's like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. What you hope to grasp, you only lose faster. The Stoics saw this clearly. Thousands of years ago, Epictetus gave us a truth we still struggle to accept. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. That's not just poetic wisdom, it's a warning. Because every time we pour our energy into what we can't control, we drain the peace that's already within us. Peace doesn't begin when the world aligns with our wish. It begins when we stop demanding that it must. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Frustration boils. You honk, curse, blame others, but none of it moves the traffic. All it does is increase your stress. Now imagine instead that you take a deep breath and say, "This isn't in my control." But how I respond is, in that moment you reclaim something rare and powerful, your inner authority. You may not control the cars, but you control your state of mind, and that is real power. Control, you see, isn't just about managing events. It's about mastering your interpretation of them. The Stoics believed it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but the stories we tell ourselves about them. Someone leaves your message unanswered. You assume they're upset. A plan falls apart, you brand yourself a failure. But are those stories actually true, or are they assumptions we've learned to believe? Letting go isn't weakness. Discipline. It's choosing not to base your peace on things that were never steady to begin with. The weather changes, people leave, the economy shifts, life is full of uncertainty. But your mind, your breath, your values, those are your anchors. You don't need to control the storm. You just need to learn how to steer the wheel. Sometimes, the story we tell ourselves is the very thing that causes our suffering. For example, someone doesn't reply to your message, and your mind rushes to assume they must be angry with me. The plan fails and you think, I'm a failure. But what if none of that is actually true? What if the only thing creating tension is the interpretation you've wrapped around the situation? Letting go isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of great discipline. It means deciding consciously to stop allowing your peace to depend on things that were never stable in the first place. Think about it. The weather will always change. People will come and go. Markets will rise and fall. Life is a constant wave of unpredictability. But within that chaos, your breath, your mindset, and your core principles can remain steady. These are your anchors. You don't need to control the storm. You only need to learn how to steer your ship through it. One of the most draining cycles we fall into is believing that if we just try harder, we'll finally gain control. If we explain ourselves better, they'll finally get it. If we give more, maybe they'll stay. We worry enough, maybe we can prevent the worst. But almost all of that is just an illusion. You cannot control how someone else feels. You cannot control the future. You cannot control how the world responds to your effort. Here's the liberating truth. You don't have to. Your real power lies in claiming what is actually yours. Your attention, your choices, your attitude, and your responses. Your realm of influence. And when you live from that place, everything starts to feel different. Life no longer feels like a constant struggle. It begins to resemble a dance. Some steps you lead, others you surrender to. And in that surrender, peace will come find you. Moment then, even in the middle of chaos, you'll find something few ever experience. Stillness. Control is internal, not external. It's easy to think that control means having power over the world around us, over events, people, timing, outcomes. But 638. The more we try to manage what lies outside us, the more life reminds us we never really held that power. People change their minds, plans fall apart, things go wrong despite our best efforts, and yet in the middle of all that, one form of control remains untouched: internal control. That's where Stoicism builds its foundation. The Stoic doesn't chase after what he can't influence. He sharpens his awareness of what he can, not the world but the self, not the chaos but the clarity beneath it. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your 720 mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's the shift. Control doesn't mean making things go your way, it means mastering how you respond when they don't. But most people are trained differently. We're taught to seek results, to fix everything, to prevent every mistake. That's why we obsess over how others see us. That's why we replay conversations in our heads. That's why we lose sleep over things we can't undo. We confuse external control with safety. We think that if we can just manage every detail, we'll finally feel 802 okay. But what actually happens is the opposite. We become prisoners to variables we can't command. Here's the hard part. Internal control isn't flashy. You can't show it off. No one applauds you for staying calm in silence, or for choosing not to argue back, or for letting something go when your ego wanted to hold on. But those small internal victories, they build something. One of the most painful and persistent illusions we often fall into is the belief that if we just try a little harder, if we explain ourselves better, if we give more of our time, energy, or love, somehow things will finally go our way. We convince ourselves that with enough effort, we can gain control over people's perceptions, over unpredictable outcomes, or over events that never truly belong to us. This illusion feeds a cycle of endless striving and emotional depletion. Think about how often we bargain with reality. We hope that if we show up enough, if we worry intensely, if we bend ourselves backward, then we'll prevent the worst from happening. We trick ourselves into believing that our anxiety is a form of preparation, that our self-sacrifice will be rewarded. But here's the truth. Most of the time, it's not control. We're gaining its exhaustion, we're accumulating. Don't get to choose how others feel or how they interpret our intentions. We can't command the future to unfold according to our script, no matter how meticulous our plans may be. And while that realization might feel unsettling at first, it is also deeply freeing. Because once we stop trying to control what isn't ours, we reclaim all that scattered energy and focus it inward in what we can actually shape. Your power lies not in bending reality to your will, but in taking full responsibility for what's truly within your reach, your awareness, your decisions, your mindset, and your actions. This is where your influence lives. When you stop throwing yourself at locked doors, you start building your own path forward. And as your internal clarity strengthens, life begins to feel less like an ongoing war and more like a rhythm of flow you can move with. That's the shift the Stoics were pointing to. They weren't preaching indifference, but rather intentional living. They believed in aligning with nature, which includes accepting change, unpredictability, and even discomfort. When you release the urge to control the uncontrollable, you're not giving up. You're growing up. You're no longer trying to dominate life. You're learning how to dance with it. From this space, peace becomes possible. Not just peace as in calmness, but peace as in personal power. The kind that doesn't crumble when the world refuses to cooperate. The kind that remains grounded even when everything else feels unsteady. This mindset shift is where freedom lives. The world outside may always remain turbulent, but your response? That's yours. That's the power the Stoics invite us to embrace. One of the most draining cycles we fall into is the belief that if we simply try harder, we will eventually gain control. If we explain ourselves more clearly, surely they'll understand. If we give more of ourselves, they'll stay. If we worry enough, perhaps we'll prevent the worst from happening. But most of that is nothing more than a painful illusion. The truth is, you don't control how other people feel. You don't control the future. And you certainly don't control how the world will respond to your efforts, no matter how well-intentioned or well-executed they may be. And yet, within this realization lies one of the most liberating truths you'll ever encounter. You don't need to. Your strength doesn't depend on the outcome, but on how firmly you stand in your own truth. True power begins the moment you take full ownership of what is genuinely yours, your attention, your decisions, your mindset, and your responses. This is where your leverage lies. When you stop trying to force life to follow your script and start leading yourself with deliberate intention, something inside you shifts. Life stops feeling like a battlefield and starts to feel more like a dance. There are moments where you lead and moments where you simply flow in that beautiful rhythm. Peace begins to find its way back to you. So how do we train our minds to embrace this mindset? Start by noticing the signals your body sends you. Every time your shoulders tighten, your breath shortens, or your stomach knots, pause. Ask yourself, what am I trying to control, right? Now, is it someone's opinion of you? It's an outcome you can't predict? A mistake from your past? If the answer is yes, then take a breath and release it, not because it doesn't matter, but because it doesn't belong to you. Letting go doesn't mean apathy. It means wisdom. It means acknowledging what is yours to carry and what never was. This is how we reclaim our peace, not through dominance or control, but through the serenity that comes with alignment. Peace doesn't arrive when life obeys our every command. It emerges when our expectations align with the truth of reality. Moment by moment, breath by breath, we return to our center. And there, even in the chaos, we discover something truly rare: stillness. We often spend so much energy preparing for the worst, believing that if we rehearse every possible scenario in our minds, we can somehow soften the blow when things go wrong. It's like we're trying to outsmart fate by imagining all its possible twists. But what actually happens is this. Instead of protecting ourselves, we end up exhausting ourselves. Worry doesn't prevent tomorrow's pain, it only steals today's peace. The Stoics taught us to prepare, yes, but with a different purpose. They practiced what's called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Not to dwell in negativity, but to cultivate resilience. To say, if this happens, I will be ready. And if it doesn't, I will be grateful. This mindset doesn't shrink your joy, it strengthens your backbone. It teaches you to walk into the unknown, not with fear, but with readiness. Think of a warrior before battle. They don't hope for the worst, but they train for it. They visualize the chaos not to live in dread, but to perform with clarity when the storm hits. That's what the Stoic does with life. They imagine loss, failure, discomfort not because they want it, but so that if it comes, it doesn't knock them off their feet. Here's the key. After you prepare mentally, you must return to the present moment. You don't stay in worst case scenarios. You don't camp in fear. You visit them only long enough to become stronger. Then, you come back to this breath, this task, this opportunity. Because life isn't lived in your thoughts, it's lived here. Training your mind for difficulty isn't pessimism, it's wisdom. It's emotional conditioning. You're saying to life, do what you must, I am ready either way. That kind of calm isn't found in fantasy. It's forged in the fire of facing reality, fully and freely. You don't become unshakable by avoiding storms. You become unshakable by learning how to stand in them, breathe through them, and keep walking anyway. That's how you build the kind of inner peace that nothing can take away. Even more important, this mindset empowers you to separate what happens from who you are. The external world may hand you setbacks, failures, even grief, but none of those define your worth. You learn to stand in discomfort without internalizing it. Pain becomes part of your environment, not your identity. That's the strength of Stoic thinking. It doesn't promise comfort, it delivers clarity, and clarity is powerful. It's what allows you to act wisely, not react impulsively. It gives you space to ask, what now, instead of why me? That shift from emotional reactivity to purposeful responses, what transforms ordinary people into resilient ones.
The Stoics
Weren't indifferent to hardship, they were prepared to meet it with dignity. So can you? True power doesn't lie in dominating others or proving yourself constantly. It comes from a quiet strength, a steady resolve that allows you to remain grounded, even when everything around you is trying to pull you off balance. This is the kind of power that doesn't need to shout, doesn't demand attention, but speaks volumes through calmness, clarity, and consistency. The Stoics knew this well. They taught that virtue, not fame, wealth, or approval's the only true good. When someone insults you and you don't respond with anger, but instead with grace, that's power. When life hits you with setbacks and you don't crumble, but instead adapt and continue, that's power. Not because you force the world to change, but because you refuse to let the world change you. Think of a tree in a storm. The wind howls. The rain lashes, but the tree doesn't fight the storm, it endures it. Its roots are deep. Its foundation is firm. It bends, but it doesn't break. You can be that tree. You can grow roots that are deeper than your circumstances, but it takes time and it takes practice. You begin by choosing your responses deliberately. You slow down. You pause before reacting. Remind yourself that your worth isn't up for negotiation every time life challenges you. You stay rooted in your values, even when it would be easier to abandon them. This kind of strength doesn't come from pretending you're unaffected. It comes from choosing how you respond when you are affected. It's not denial, it's direction. You feel the emotions. You acknowledge the struggle, but you don't let it drag you into chaos. You lead yourself back to calm, again and again. As you cultivate this resilience, something profound happens. People notice. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because calm is magnetic. In a noisy, reactive world, quiet strength stands out. And more importantly, it inspires. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to win every argument or prove every point. Sometimes the most courageous act is choosing peace when anger feels easier. The most impressive display of strength is simply refusing to be shaken by what's outside your control. That's Stoic power, not control over others, but complete command over yourself. By ignoring the world, but by filtering it, this is what reclaiming energy looks like in real life. Unsubscribing from emotional chaos, choosing your responses. 1522, protecting your inner space like you would protect your home. You don't open your front door to every stranger. Why open your mind to every worry? And yes, This takes discipline. It means being honest about your patterns. It means saying, no, I won't overthink that again. 1548, no, I won't spend the day dwelling on something I can't change. No. I won't waste my energy on someone who doesn't even value it. That kind of self-control doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear, because clarity is power. And when you finally stop giving your energy to the uncontrollable, you'll be shocked at how much lighter you feel and how much more you can do with what's actually yours. Let go of illusions of power over others. One of the most draining habits we carry is the illusion that we can control how other people behave, that if we say the right thing, act the right way, give enough, stay calm enough, they'll change. 1631. They'll treat us with more respect, that they'll love us the way we love them, that they'll understand us, value us, or finally give us closure. But this is the trap, the false hope that our inner peace depends on someone else's transformation. It never has, because no matter how thoughtful, patient, or generous you are, you don't control how others think, feel, or act, and trying to manipulate their behavior, even with good intentions, is not connection, it's control in disguise. The Stoics taught that to live in harmony with nature is to accept people as they are, not as we wish them in. A world that often rewards speed and noise, choosing stillness can feel like a radical act. But for the Stoics, stillness wasn't about doing nothing, it was about intentionality. It was about aligning your thoughts, values, and actions so that you move through life not with frenzy, but with focused clarity. And that kind of clarity doesn't come from reacting to everything, it comes from pausing long enough to see what truly matters. Too often we race through life trying to keep up, driven by pressure, comparison, or the fear of missing out. We say yes to things we don't truly value. We chase validation, fill every empty space with distractions. But beneath all the movement, there's often a quiet sense that something essential is being drowned out. That's why stillness is so powerful. It allows you to hear yourself again. It gives you room to separate your voice from the noise of the world. And in that space, you begin to realize that most of what agitates you isn't coming from outside, it's coming from within. Unexamined fears, unchecked impulses, and unquestioned assumptions. When you practice stillness, you interrupt those patterns. You reclaim your breath. You ask yourself, what do I actually need right now? Not what others expect of you, not what fear demands, but what your values call you to do. That's the moment when you begin living, not just reacting. Stillness isn't a retreat, it's a recalibration. It doesn't mean withdrawal from life. It means re-engagement with what's essential. You return stronger, clearer, more centered. You stop being pulled in 100 directions and start moving deliberately in one. This is what the Stoics meant when they talked about tranquility. Not absence of struggle, but presence of clarity. It's a kind of inner silence that doesn't waver even when the world gets loud. You don't have to run from noise to find stillness. You just have to stop letting it rule you. Carry peace with you when your values lead the way, and when your actions reflect thought instead of impulse. Let the world spin, let the noise rise. You stay rooted, you stay still. Not because you're frozen, but because you're grounded. And from that ground you can move forward with purpose. We often underestimate the value of asking for help. In a culture that glorifies independence and self-reliance, we're taught that seeking support is a sign of weakness. But the Stoics understood something deeper, that strength isn't about doing everything alone. It's about knowing when to lean on others with wisdom and humility. Even the greatest minds of Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, sought guidance. They read deeply, they discussed ideas with mentors, and they surrounded themselves with people who challenged them to grow. They knew that clarity doesn't always come from isolation, it often comes from conversation. From letting someone else's perspective help illuminate your blind spots. There is courage in vulnerability. It takes strength to say, I don't have all the answers. It takes wisdom to admit, I need help seeing this clearly. When you open yourself to counsel, you open yourself to growth. You allow life to teach you through others. It's not weakness, it's strategic resilience. But not all advice is equal. The Stoics weren't telling us to seek validation from anyone who will give it. They encouraged discernment, choosing mentors, friends, and guides who live by principle, who embody the kind of character you aspire to develop. You don't just want someone who agrees with you. You want someone who sharpens you. So the next time you feel lost, don't spiral alone. Reach out, ask the question, share the burden. Let someone else's wisdom guide you back to your own, because sometimes the clearest mirror is found in the reflection of another soul. And remember, asking for help doesn't mean giving up responsibility. It means expanding your awareness. It means building a team around your personal evolution. Even the Stoics, so often thought of as solitary and stone-faced, were part of communities. They were students, teachers, friends, and leaders. They gave and received support. There's a quiet strength in choosing interdependence, not dependency, not prideful isolation, but mutual uplift, a shared pursuit of virtue, of clarity, of peace. You don't have to walk this path alone, and in truth, you were never meant to. This approach also aligns with the deeper Stoic view of human nature. We are not meant to be isolated fragments, but interconnected parts of a greater whole. The Stoics believed we are citizens of the world, a vast, shared community where wisdom grows, not just from solitude, but from meaningful relationships. Sometimes just hearing someone say you're not alone can shift your entire emotional landscape. It's not about being rescued. It's about remembering that support is a strength multiplier. When you combine your perspective with another's experience, you gain insight that neither of you had alone. And the ripple effect matters too. When you ask for help, you also give others permission to do the same. You create a culture of honesty, of humility, of strength shared instead of hoarded. That's how individuals grow, and that's how communities thrive. So don't hesitate. Reach out when needed. Offer help when you can. That exchange of wisdom, that openness to learning and teaching, is what builds a truly Stoic life, rooted not just in personal virtue, but in collective strength. Let yourself be guided, and you'll become someone worth guiding others to. There comes a moment in every journey of growth when you must commit not casually, not halfway, but fully. This is the moment when you stop waiting for the perfect conditions, the right mood, or external validation. You decide. You move. And that commitment changes everything. The Stoics believed in the power of decisive action grounded in reason and virtue. To them, commitment wasn't about reckless intensity. It was about alignment. When your thoughts, values, and actions line up, you stop wasting energy on internal conflict. You become focused, purposeful, and unstoppable in the ways that truly matter. It's easy to postpone transformation. We tell ourselves we'll begin tomorrow, once we've read one more book, healed a little more, or gained more confidence. But transformation doesn't happen someday. It happens now, in the small but powerful decision to begin.
Just show up.
To stay the course, even when it's uncomfortable, and discomfort will come. Growth always invites resistance. There will be setbacks, doubts, and moments when the old version of you begs for comfort. But if you've committed, you don't negotiate with the discomfort, you move through it. Not with force, but with faith in the process. This kind of commitment doesn't mean rigidity, it means devotion to the path you've chosen. Not because it's easy, but because it's meaningful. You adjust your pace when needed. You rest without quitting. You stay open to feedback, but you never forget why you started. And as you persist, something profound happens. You build trust with yourself. You start to believe in your ability to stay the course. You begin to embody discipline not as punishment, but as a form of self-respect. Every step becomes a signal to yourself that your growth is real, that your values matter, that you're building a life on purpose. The Stoics didn't wait for ideal circumstances. They didn't flinch in the face of chaos. They chose to act with virtue, again and again, even when the world gave them every reason to fold. You can do the same. So, take the leap. Not with perfection, but with clarity. Not because you're fearless, but because you've chosen your path. Commitment is where the real transformation begins. Think of commitment as a kind of inner vow, a promise you make to yourself that you will not abandon your values, no matter the obstacle, This doesn't mean perfection, it means presence. It means that even when you falter, you return to the path. Even when you doubt, you continue walking. You'll find with time that this kind of consistency builds more than just external results. It builds identity. Stop seeing yourself as someone who wishes or waits and begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. That shift is powerful. It transforms your relationship with challenge, with uncertainty, even with failure. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about commitment is this: it doesn't need to be grand. You commit every day in small ways. How you speak, how you think, how you show up when no one's watching. Over time, those small decisions compound into something unshakable, something that looks to the outside world like strength, but you know it's something deeper. It's integrity. Let your life be a reflection of that commitment, not to proving yourself to others, but to honoring your deepest values. Because when you do, you don't just change your path, you change who you are becoming. But with what we refuse to accept, it's 2137, not the situation itself. That crushes us. It's our resistance to it. We wish it were different. We think it's unfair. We cling to how it should be. And in doing so, we trap ourselves in an invisible cage of war with reality that no one ever wins. This is one of the hardest truths. Stoicism offers acceptance, is not giving up, it's stepping into clarity. It's looking life straight in the eyes and saying, this is what it is, and now I choose how to meet it. 20-13, that's not weakness, that's mastery, because when you stop wishing the rain away, you can finally decide what to do with the storm. But let's be honest, it's uncomfortable to accept things. We don't like it feels passive. We fear it means surrender. If I accept that I failed, does that mean I stopped trying? If I accept that they're gone, does that mean it didn't matter? If I accept this pain, does that mean I'm okay with it? The answer is no. Acceptance isn't resignation, it's recognition. It's the first step in reclaiming power, because you can't change what you won't face, and you can't improve a reality you 2259. Keep denying, Epictetus taught. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. That's the core of Stoicism, not blind positivity, not passive suffering, but practical wisdom. If something is broken, fix it. If something can't be fixed, adjust your relationship to it. Either way, start with what is not, what you wish. Think about how much time we spend fighting reality, hoping someone will be different, wishing we had a different childhood, resisting a diagnosis, denying the truth about A when the world feels overwhelming. Your instinct may be to escape, to disconnect, or to numb yourself. But the Stoics offered a different strategy, one that requires courage and clarity. They taught us to anchor ourselves in purpose, to focus not on the chaos around us, but on the calm we can cultivate within. The truth is, external events will always be outside your control. Whether it's people's opinions, political turmoil, or personal setbacks, these are part of life's unpredictable rhythm. But your response? That's where your power lives. And the Stoics knew that true peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from the ability to remain centered despite them. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. Wind howling, rain pounding. Everything around you is moving, but you remain still, not frozen, not numb, but present. That's what Stoic inner peace looks like. It's not indifference. It's intentional composure. It's a trained mindset that returns to reason, even when emotion pulls hard. You don't get there by accident. You get there by discipline. By practicing awareness of your thoughts, by challenging your impulses, and by reminding yourself again and again that your energy is best spent on what you can control. Your thoughts, your actions, your values. When you're rooted in that practice, distractions lose their grip. You stop trying to control the narrative or change people's minds. You learn to choose your battles wisely and sometimes to walk away from battles that aren't worth fighting at all. But this calm isn't passive. It's powerful. It gives you room to think clearly, to act deliberately, to lead with intention. In a reactive world, your presence becomes your superpower. You become the person others turn to, not because you have all the answers, but because you don't panic when things go wrong. And that's the kind of strength the world needs. More of not louder voices, but quieter minds. Not more noise, but deeper wisdom. So when the world spins fast, slow yourself down. When others rage, breathe deeper. Let your peace be a statement. Let it remind you, and those around you, that chaos doesn't need to define you. You define yourself in every calm breath, in every thoughtful response, in every moment you choose virtue over reaction. There is something powerful about choosing your path, Evan, when it's hard, even when it's uncertain. The Stoics didn't teach us to seek the easy route. They taught us to embrace the meaningful one, to move forward with purpose, even when that path demands more from us than comfort ever could. When you face a fork in the road, don't just ask what's easiest. Ask what aligns with your values, builds the kind of character you admire. What future version of yourself would thank you for this decision? The Stoics understood that. The quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your choices, and those choices begin with clarity. The clarity comes not from rushing, but from reflecting. It's from pausing long enough to strip away ego, fear, and the desire to impress. Only then can you see the path that is truly yours, not borrowed from someone else, not dictated by trend or pressure, but chosen deliberately, bravely. Let you choose it, commit. Fully, let your decision become a declaration, not just to the world, but to yourself. Let it echo in your actions, day after day. Because a path walked without commitment is just wandering. But a path walked with intention becomes a journey of becoming. There will be days when doubt creeps in. The old, easier ways tempt you back. But remember, ease rarely leads to excellence. The Stoic path asks more of you not because you're being punished, but because you're being prepared. Every challenge, every moment of resistance is shaping you into someone more resilient, more wise, more aligned. And as you stay that, of course, you build more than results. You build identity. You start to trust yourself. Start to recognize the strength that comes from showing up, even when it's hard. That's where growth lives, in the space between uncertainty and courage. So choose your path. Not perfectly, but purposefully. And walk it with eyes wide open, heart steady, and mind rooted in what matters most. Because in the end, the life you live is the result of the roads you dared to walk with intention. There is a quiet wisdom in letting go, not as surrender, but as strength. The Stoics remind us that clinging too tightly to things outside our control only deepens our suffering. Whether it's control over others, attachment to specific outcomes, or the illusion of permanence, we trap ourselves by holding on too tightly. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've decided to care wisely. It means you've chosen to pour your energy into what you can influence: your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, and release the rest. This is not passive. This is power, redirected with purpose. You can't control what people think of you, but you can control your integrity. You can't force things to last forever, but you can show up fully while they do. No? You can't avoid all pain, but you can choose how you respond to it. In every one of those choices lies a hidden form of freedom, a kind that doesn't come from winning, but from unburdening. Think of your mind like a clenched fist. When you grip too tightly, there's tension, anxiety, and exhaustion. But when you loosen your grasp, something surprising happens. You find space, clarity, and peace. The Stoics knew this, so they taught that freedom isn't granted, it's chosen in the way we think and what we let go of. Letting go also makes room for growth. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop resisting change and begin moving. With it, you stop fearing loss and begin embracing the present. And in doing so, you become more agile, more resilient, more at peace. So ask yourself, what am I clinging to that no longer serves me? Is it an outdated belief? A toxic attachment? A need to control? Then gently, deliberately release it. Not because you're giving up, but because you're moving forward. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the realization that peace isn't found in perfect control. It's found in courageous surrender. When you release the need to grasp everything tightly, your hands and your heart are finally free to hold what truly matters. In life, there are moments when silence says more than words ever could. The Stoics understood this deeply. They weren't advocates of constant talking or endless debate. Instead, they championed the quiet strength of measured speech. And sometimes, no speech at all. When someone offends you, criticizes you, or tries to provoke you, Your instinct might be to respond instantly, to defend, explain, retaliate, but in that reaction, you often lose your power. You hand over control of your inner state to someone else. The Stoics offered another path: silence as a choice, as a strength, as a way of owning your response rather than being owned by the situation. It's not about bottling emotions or avoiding difficult conversations. It's about knowing when words will serve a purpose and when they'll only escalate the noise. Sometimes your calm presence is the loudest answer. Sometimes your refusal to be pulled into drama is the clearest declaration of your values. Think of silence as a shield. It gives you space to assess what really matters. It allows your emotions to settle before you act. It protects you from saying something you'll regret. In silence, you reconnect with your reason, your dignity, your self-respect. Silence is also a test of ego. The ego wants to prove, to win, to be heard. But the wise soul doesn't need to win every argument. The wise soul chooses peace over performance, and that peace radiates, so others feel it, respect it, and sometimes mirror it. In a noisy world that equates volume with value, choosing silence is radical. It's not passive, it's powerful. Because when you're silent on purpose, you speak volumes through your presence, through your steadiness, through your restraint. So the next time you're tempted to fire back, pause. Ask yourself, will this serve growth? Or is this just ego trying to be right? Then choose the path that leads to peace. Let your silence speak for you. Let it say, I'm not here to fight noise with noise. I'm here to stand in truth, quietly, confidently, and unshaken. Growth rarely feels like growth in the moment. In fact, it often feels like discomfort, confusion, or even failure. But the Stoics teach us that the pain of the present can be the soil for a stronger, wiser version of ourselves. If we are willing to stay with it, to learn from it, we transform. It's easy to believe that progress should feel good, that clarity should always accompany change. But true growth often happens in the shadows before it emerges into the light. Think of a seed. Breaking open underground, it must rupture to become more than it was. So must we. When you encounter difficulty, don't immediately ask, how do I escape this? Instead, ask, what is this teaching me? The Stoics remind us that every trial is a kind of classroom. Not all lessons come wrapped in comfort. Some come through struggle, through loss, through having to let go of old beliefs and outdated identities. This doesn't mean we glorify suffering. It means we trust that suffering has something to offer. We stop resenting life for being hard and start using the hardness as a tool of sculptor shaping character. Carving away illusion, revealing strength. The path of growth requires patience. You won't always see results right away, but every time you show up, every time you breathe through the tension, instead of fleeing it, to build something unseen but unshakable. You build the kind of inner architecture that holds up under pressure. Eventually you look back and realize what once felt unbearable became the very thing that shaped you. What once seemed like an end was a beginning in disguise. So if you're in that place now where things feel unclear, uncomfortable, or uncertain, know this. You are not lost. You're growing. You are being refined. Stay present. Stay curious. Stay open. What hurts today may become tomorrow's wisdom. And tomorrow's strength, because in the Stoic view, life doesn't break you. It builds you if you let it. Growth also demands compassion for yourself. Too often we beat ourselves up for not progressing fast enough, for not being perfect along the way. But healing and transformation are not linear. There are setbacks, pauses, even moments of regression. These are not signs of failure. They are part of the process. Give yourself room to be human, to stumble, to try again. Progress doesn't require flawlessness. It requires persistence. The Stoics knew this. They believed in steady improvement, not sudden perfection. One step at a time, one choice at a time, you inch closer to the person you're becoming. And remember, the version of you on the other side of this discomfort is not just stronger, but more compassionate, more wise, more resilient. Let that vision pull you forward. Let it remind you that the pain you feel now has a purpose, not to punish, but to prepare. keep going. Growth is happening, even when it doesn't feel like it. There is a certain power in choosing consistency over intensity. In a world obsessed with quick wins, dramatic changes, and overnight success, the Stoics taught us something different, that real transformation is born from the small, repeated acts we do every day. Anyone can act with virtue when life is easy. But what defines a person is how they act when things are hard, boring, or uncertain. When no one is watching, that's why Stoic practice wasn't about grand gestures. It was about discipline, daily discipline. It's quiet, intentional, and often unseen. It's in those early mornings when you choose reflection over distraction. In the moments you take a deep breath instead of lashing out. In the commitment to your values, when it would be easier to compromise. Those decisions might feel small, but they are the bricks that build your character. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up even when you don't feel like it. It means holding to your principles when temptation whispers. It means doing what's right not for praise, but because it's right. The Stoics believe that excellence isn't a one-time achievement, it's a lifestyle. It didn't become resilient, wise, or composed overnight. They trained for it day after day with patience and purpose, and so can you. Over time, those small choices add up. You become someone others can trust. Someone you can trust. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your future. So if you're tired, discouraged, or wondering if the effort is worth it, know this. Every small act of consistency matters. It's not wasted, it's not invisible. It's the work of becoming. You don't have to move mountains today. Just have to move forward, deliberately, steadily, and with purpose. And in doing so, you become unshakable, not because you never fall, but because you always get back up. Let your consistency speak for you. Let it say, "This is who I am, even when it's hard." And as you continue to practice this kind of steady effort, something profound happens. Your external circumstances matter less, and your internal compass becomes stronger. Begin to rely less on motivation and more on principle. You don't need inspiration to do what's right. You've trained yourself to act from integrity, regardless of how you feel. This consistency creates trust, not only in relationships, but in yourself. You know that when things get tough, you'll show up. When decisions must be made, you'll choose wisely. When setbacks command, they always do all rise. Not because it's easy, but because you've practiced rising. Don't underestimate the power of today's choices. Don't wait for the perfect moment to live by your values. Don't need a breakthrough, you need a rhythm. A rhythm of integrity, of small, faithful actions that echo far beyond the moment. This is the Stoic way, and it's yours to claim, one choice at a time. There are few things more powerful than knowing your values and living them. In a world full of noise, trends, and shifting opinions, your values become your compass. They keep you steady when everything else feels uncertain. The Stoics believed that virtue is the highest good. Not wealth, not status, not fleeting comfort, but living with courage, wisdom, justice, and self-control. These are not abstract ideals, they are daily practices. And each time you act in alignment with them, you strengthen your sense of self. But knowing your values is only the beginning. The real challenge is living them when it's hard, when no one's watching, when it costs you something. That's when your integrity is tested. And that's when your character is revealed, not in the easy moments, but in the hard ones. Ask yourself, what do I stand for? And more importantly, do my actions reflect that? It's not enough to believe in kindness. Are you kind when you're tired? It's not enough to believe in honesty. Do you tell the truth when it's inconvenient? These are the moments that shape you. Living your values doesn't mean being perfect. It means being committed. It means recognizing when you fall short and choosing to realign. It's a process of continual return, like a sailor adjusting course to stay true to the destination. And the more you live this way, the more peace you find, because there's deep strength in alignment. You stop second-guessing. You stop seeking external validation. You move through life with a quiet confidence, knowing you're not pretending, you're becoming. Others will feel it too. They may not always agree with you, but they'll respect your consistency, because values, when lived, shine. They cut through the noise. They inspire without trying. And they attract people who are on a similar path. So live your values not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. That's when it matters most. That's when you become unshakable, not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. There's a moment in every person's life when they must decide, will I follow the crowd or will I follow my conscience? The Stoics urged us to choose the latter. They knew that truth is not always popular, and doing what is right often means walking alone. Following your own path requires courage, not because it's dramatic or rebellious, but because it's deeply honest. It means listening to the quiet voice within you rather than the loud voices around you. It means choosing principle over popularity, depth over approval. There will be moments when others won't understand your choices. They may question your values or mock your restraint. In those moments, remember, you are not living their life. You are living yours. And the only person you have to live with every day is yourself. The Stoics believe that the greatest approval you can earn is your own, not in an ego-driven way, but through integrity. Through living in a way that aligns with your reason, your virtue, and your purpose. When your actions reflect your values, your mind becomes still. You stop chasing validation because you've already found alignment. This doesn't mean you reject feedback or live in isolation. It means you anchor yourself before you engage. You enter the world with clarity, not confusion. With resolve, not insecurity. And from that place, you become an example, not by trying to impress, but simply by being yourself. Think of the oak tree. It doesn't bend to every breeze. It stands tall, rooted, steady even when storms pass through. That's the kind of person the Stoics sought to become. That's the kind of person you're becoming when you choose your path with conviction. So walk your path, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Because every step taken in integrity is a step toward the kind of peace that cannot be shaken by opinion or praise. That's real strength. Stoic strength. One of the most liberating realizations in life is this: you don't have to react to everything. Not every comment demands a reply. Not every slight deserves your energy. The Stoics taught that our power lies not in what happens to us, but in how we choose to respond. You are not a puppet pulled by the strings of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. You have a choice to pause, to breathe, to respond with clarity, rather than react from impulse. And in that pause lies your freedom. We often confuse reaction with strength. But reacting blindly is easy. Anyone can lash out, panic, or complain. True strength is restraint. It's the ability to feel a wave of emotion rise inside you and choose not to be swept away by it. The Stoics called this mastery of the self, and it's not cold or robotic. It's deeply human. It's what allows us to stay rooted in reason. When chaos surrounds us, imagine your mind as a still pond. When you react impulsively, it's like tossing stones into the water ripples of disturbance spread outward. But when you remain calm, you preserve that stillness. From that clarity, you make wiser decisions. You protect your peace. This doesn't mean you suppress emotion. It means you guide it. You channel it. You let it inform you, not control you. And over time, this practice builds a kind of quiet power, one that can't be shaken by petty things or passing storms. So the next time you're triggered, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does this align with who I want to be? Then respond, not to win, not to impress, but to remain anchored, to live in accordance with your values. Because you were never meant to be ruled by everything that happens around you. You're meant to master what happens within. One of the most misunderstood ideas in Stoic philosophy is that detachment means indifference. But that's not what the Stoics taught. They didn't tell us to stop caring. They taught us to care wisely, to invest our energy in what we can, influence and release what we can't. This isn't cold, it's courageous. Because clinging to what's beyond our control only brings anxiety, frustration, and helplessness. When we learn to let go not of effort, but of outcome, we unlock a deeper peace. We remain committed to the process, not obsessed with results. Detachment means being able to hold joy without fear of losing it, to love fully without trying to possess, to engage deeply without demanding guarantees. It's the art of showing up wholeheartedly and still being okay if things don't go your way. You can care without controlling. You can give your best without needing a specific result. You can love someone and still accept they might leave. That's not weakness, it's strength. It means your peace doesn't depend on circumstances. It depends on clarity. Think of a skilled archer. They practice for years. They aim with precision. They release the arrow with focus. Once it leaves the bow, it's out of their hands. Wind, movement, chancel may intervene. The Stoic doesn't obsess over the target. They focus on the shot. This is how we must live, fully engaged, yet unattached to the uncontrollable. When we do this, we protect our peace, preserve our energy, and remain grounded. We act with intention, but we don't tie our identity to the outcome. So the next time life doesn't unfold as planned, pause. Remind yourself, your value wasn't in the outcome. It was in your integrity, your effort, your presence. What endures? That's what you carry forward. Detach not to escape life, but to engage with it more wisely, more peacefully, and more powerfully. And in practicing this kind of detachment, you begin to see clearly what truly matters. You're no longer chasing every outcome, nor are you held hostage by every twist of fate. You become anchored in the present, aware, engaged, but unburdened. This mindset frees you to live with greater joy, because you're not constantly calculating what you might lose or what you didn't get. Instead, you savor what is. You show up for the moment with gratitude, not expectation. You move through life lightly, but with depth. And when things do go your way, you can enjoy them fully without fear, because your happiness isn't built on a shaky foundation. It's rooted in something deeper. The calm knowing that whatever happens, you will meet it with grace, not grasping. This is the freedom Stoicism offers, not detachment from life, but detachment from illusion, from the illusion that we must control everything to be okay. Once you release that, you don't become passive, you become free. Live, love, strive, but let go of the outcome. And in doing so, you'll discover a serenity that no success or failure can touch. Everyday life offers us a simple but powerful choice. Will we react with fear or respond with purpose? The Stoics taught us that while we can't control the winds of fortune, we can control the direction we steer our ship. Again, that choice or response is where our freedom lies. Fear often speaks first. It urges us to shrink, to retreat, to doubt ourselves. But the Stoic doesn't silence fear by denying it. They meet it with reason. They ask, is this fear based on truth? On assumption? Often fear thrives in the shadows of uncertainty. Shine the light of clarity, and it loses its grip. When something threatens your peace, be it an insult, a delay, or a personal setback, the impulse may be to lash out or shut down, but the wiser path is to pause, to create space between stimulus and response. In that space, you gain power. You remind yourself, I am not my emotions. I am not this moment. I am more. The Stoics called this practice prohorosis, the ability to choose your attitude, regardless of what happens. And it is this discipline that turns a victim into a leader, a bystander into a builder, a fearful person into one who acts with courage. Responding with purpose doesn't mean being emotionless. It means guiding your emotions rather than being ruled by them. It means saying, I will act, not out of panic, but from principle. That's strength, not loud or showy, but steady and undeniable. So the next time life provokes you, don't rush to react. Take a breath. Reclaim your power. Choose the response that reflects your highest values, not your passing mood. Because every response is a brick in the foundation of your character. Choose wisely. Respond with purpose. That's how the Stoic leads, not just in grand moments, but in the quiet ones that define who they are. We often search for peace outside ourselves, in quieter places, in calmer relationships, in slower routines. But the Stoics taught a radical truth. Peace isn't found in your surroundings. You can't always control the noise of the world, but you can quiet your own thoughts. That's where the real work begins, not in rearranging your life, but in reordering your thinking. Peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the ability to remain still within it. Every day, challenges will arise. Disappointments will show up. Delays will frustrate you. But in every moment, you have a choice. Will you let the outside disturb your inner state, or will you remain centered? The Stoics trained their minds to stay anchored even when life was chaotic. This doesn't mean pretending everything is okay when it isn't. It means recognizing that you are more than your circumstances. You are the observer. You are the one who decides how much power a problem will have over your peace. The modern world offers endless distractions, opinions, demands. It's tempting to respond to everything. But not everything deserves your attention. Stillness is not inactivity, it is intentional focus. It's the discipline of saying no to noise and yes to what truly matters. Start small. Begin with your breath. Pause before you respond. Let go of the need to control everything. These are the steps that return you to yourself. And from that space, clarity emerges. Inner peace isn't passive, it's active strength. It's the refusal to let chaos dictate your mood. And once you find that space inside, you carry it with you everywhere. Let others rush. Let the world spin. You stay grounded, because real power is calm. This kind of calm isn't something you find once and keep forever. Something you cultivate daily. Like tending to a fire, it requires attention, fuel, and protection from the winds. Your peace is your responsibility and your superpower. When the noise outside gets loud, go inward. Reflect on what you can control. Revisit your principles. Ask yourself, does this truly matter? You'll find that many things that steal your peace don't deserve to. Peace is not a retreat. It's a foundation. From it, you can lead, serve, love, and build. Without it, even success feels hollow. That's why the Stoics didn't chase calm. They built it. One thought, one pause, one choice at a time. So when the world pulls you in 100 directions, return to your center. Protect your mind like sacred ground, because it is. And from that place of strength, you'll face the day not with tension, but with quiet, steady power. Real calm isn't silence, it's sovereignty. There's a kind of wisdom that only comes from adversity. The Stoics didn't seek hardship, but they welcomed it as a teacher. They believed every obstacle held an opportunity, not just to endure, but to evolve. When life is easy, we coast. But when difficulty strikes, we are forced to face ourselves. Our beliefs, our values, and our strength are tested. It's in the pressure that character is revealed. You learn what truly matters when comfort is stripped away. The Stoics taught that we shouldn't waste our suffering, that even pain can serve a purpose if we approach it with the right mindset. Instead of asking, why is this happening too? Ask, what is this teaching me? That shift turns pain into perspective. Adversity humbles us. It reminds us we're not in control of everything. But it also shows us what we are in control of: our response, our resilience, our ability to choose meaning over misery. And that is a kind of power no one can take away. You might feel broken in the moment, but remember, scars don't mean weakness. They mean survival. They mean growth. Every time you rise from something that tried to break you, you prove your strength not just to others, but to yourself. Stoic doesn't fear hardship. They face it, study it, and learn from it. They emerge wiser, calmer, and more grounded. This is how adversity becomes an ally, not by defeating you, but by sharpening you. So when struggle shows up, meet it with curiosity, not complaint. Welcome it as a forge for your inner fire. Because what you build in hardship will carry you further than comfort ever could. Let every setback shape you, every pain deepen you. Let every challenge reveal the strength that's already inside you. At the heart of Stoicism lies a simple yet profound truth. You are responsible for your inner world. No one else, not your boss, not your partner, not society, can dictate how you think, feel, or respond. That power is yours and yours alone. This idea isn't about ignoring reality. It's about recognizing your role within it. Things will happen, some expected, others sudden and unfair. But what happens next is up to you. Will you become bitter or better? Will you blame or build? The Stoic doesn't surrender control of their peace to circumstances. They reclaim it by owning their mindset. When you begin to take ownership of your reactions, a shift occurs. You stop saying they made me angry and start asking, why did I respond that way? You stop waiting for things to change and start changing how you show up. This is real empowerment, not the kind that comes from controlling others, but the kind that comes from mastering yourself. This level of self-responsibility is not always easy. It asks for honesty, demands reflection, and it requires patience. But in return, it gives you something priceless. Sovereignty over your own experience, ability to move through chaos without losing your clarity, ability to suffer without becoming bitter, the ability to lead not because you're louder, but because you're anchored. Start small. Notice your next emotional reaction. Pause. Ask, what am I choosing in this moment? You'll find that even a few seconds of awareness can shift your trajectory. You don't have to be perfect, just have to be willing. Because when you accept full responsibility for your life, not just your actions, but your interpretations, your expectations, your energy, you become unshakable. And that is the foundation of freedom. You are not just a product of your past or your pain. You are the author of your response. So write wisely, live intentionally, and claim the power that's always been yours.